Let's get to the last section, guys. It's going to be a short one. It could have been a long section. I started like plugging about 12 tweets, and I said, let me just go down to the best 4 tweets and leave it be, because the other day, congressional hearing took place on cryptocurrency, of course, as well. And the U.S. government, at the end of the day, is scared. There's a lot of people in there that were kind of mentioning the fact that there's no regulation, it's bad on the environment. But then we saw a push from a lot of Republicans who are now seeing their constituents, they're seeing their voter base going, oh, it's all about, a cryptocurrency. So now they're getting on board with it. The Republicans, just because it's votes, right? You know what I'm saying? And now it's also, they're trying to sell it as anti-China. Xi Jinping supposedly banned all crypto Bitcoin miners in the country. So therefore, they're trying to sell it as, oh, check a look at this. This is anti-China. Let's get into it.
Interesting.
It is interesting, but I do want to point out the fact that it was a lot of Democrats, once again, establishment Democrats, who don't give a damn. And I put this tweet up over here, and we'll play the quick video. It says that, okay, the hearing was chock full of great moments. To start off, Representative Maxine Waters got straight to the point. Crypto has no overreaching or centralized regulatory framework, leaving investments in the digital aspect space vulnerable to fraud, manipulation, and abuse. Oh. Crypto. Fraud.
The fiat dollar isn't vulnerable. We don't have the Nancy Pelosi making millions of dollars.
Yes.
Right. We don't have the Wall Street. Literally, Wall Street is all I need to say. What happened with Wall Street bets? I mean, we don't have any of that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, 2008, they were The Big Short. You can watch the movie. It was a great movie. They just played games. With people's money, their pensions and stuff. And people went to the poorhouse in 2008, and Obama bailed out Wall Street, left mainstream in the dust. And that's what I put down. I said, no shit. That's why some people like crypto, because they don't have the central banks. They don't have the IMF. If I can go around it, I'm going to go around it. There's 2 choices. There is no reforming our financial system, fam. There is no reforming. You either blow it up or you go around it. And that's why crypto has been successful, specifically Bitcoin. So, and I put that down. Remember 2008? Remember Wall Street bets? When the 1% laughed in our faces as the Americans took it in the kisser? Well, of course, Maxine Waters starts off that way. Here's a quick clip of her with the opening statements right off the jump.
Currently, cryptocurrency markets have no overarching or centralized regulatory framework, leaving investments in the digital aspect space vulnerable to fraud, manipulation, and abuse.
So, there was a lot of that, fam. I can make a whole show with people just plugging their things. Well, it's open to fraud. It's open to manipulation. What about the energy source? This is awful, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of left it out, and I wanted to point out some of the positive things, because the CEOs that were called there from Coinbase and other companies, they really just kept it positive. It did seem a lot like a lot of Congress showed up that didn't do their homework, that might have read an article or 2 that was anti-crypto and tried to bring it to the floor. And I said to myself, these are our lawmakers over here?
Yeah, they don't do their homework ever. I mean, there's 2,700-page bills that they don't even read.
Yeah.
So I don't expect them to do their homework with this either, especially people like Maxine Waters. Crypto is very much liked and embraced by a lot of younger people, right? The president of El Salvador, Bukele, he's a younger leader. He's embracing it. A lot of young people are embracing it. We just went to a crypto thing where it was a bunch of young people. Like, it's just the NFTs, all of that stuff is geared towards younger people. But we have a bunch of freaking like Stone Age leaders who are just, they don't understand it. They don't know anything about it. And for me, the best thing about crypto that I've heard thus far is from our friends who have seen it being used in countries like Venezuela and in other countries where they can bypass these sanctions and find a way to make some money or get some money sent to their families.
Yeah. Well, one of the areas that's really good, and they really kind of pointed this out, and it was great to see a congressman from Congressman Torres, and I believe he represents the Bronx, which has a big Dominican Republican base over there too as well. So he understands, he sees what's going on in El Salvador, and he kind of pointed out, well, what about the remittance in Dominican Republican? Because I have all these people from the Dominican Republic that could use the Bitcoin wallets and whatnot and transfer money back without that third middleman there,
like
that
Western Union.
Predator banks, Western Union being the #1, soaking it up. So take a look at Congressman Torres. I just want to point out a positive thing about crypto, what we're seeing.
To me, are the use cases of crypto that would improve the lives of the people of the South Bronx. I represent a heavy population of immigrants who often pay predatory fees in order to send remittances to their loved ones abroad. So what can crypto, blockchain, Web3 do for that Dominican immigrant in the South Bronx who is burdened by remittance fees that she cannot afford? How much more affordably and quickly can the crypto economy facilitate remittances? Mr. Cascarelli, if you could take that question and please be specific.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think this is a really important element of the technology, which again is that it's open to anybody. You don't need to have a bank account. You don't need to, in fact, rely on any intermediary. So somebody who's an immigrant and wants to send a remittance to a family member in another country is able to do that. And there's ways to do it with both crypto and to do it with a stable coin. And all you need to do is download a wallet, and then you can send it to somebody else anywhere in the world. And so this is a really powerful tool for democratization of access, especially for those who have difficulty getting bank accounts. There's no minimum fees, there's no minimum balances, there's no check cashing fees that are part of this technology. And you can do it in some cases for, a penny or less.
And how much?
That is big, fam. That is huge. And that's something we talked about. I grabbed somebody, do you want anything to say of that? Because I also want to show you the United States ambassador to El Salvador talking about since they've implemented the program, how much money they've saved. Because the one thing that was really surprising to me to going through Central America was all the ties to the American dollar. The American dollar is still there. You could use the American dollar at any place to pay for anything. The American corporations are still there. But with cryptocurrencies and even Bitcoin, now you can bypass all these fees that you have to pay. He was saying, the congressman over here, burdened that they can't afford these remittances.
Right.
And $90 or $100, if it costs you $100 to send $500 to El Salvador, that $100 now that can go to the family, how much does that mean to a family in Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador?
Yeah, I mean, Honduras has run primarily their economy through remittances because they were in such a dismal economic situation. 73% of people live in poverty. So it's a big deal when you have to pay, and people like Western Union or companies like Western Union have this monopoly on the remittance in Honduras. So when we asked about that, we asked because we think it would help.
Yeah.
We thought it would help, and I think they would be wise to eventually start talking about Bitcoin in those countries because it does help a lot of immigrant people and their families, and also a lot of people just in those countries that like Dominican Republic are very poor and don't have the access to a lot of working jobs and it's just hard. It's like sometimes that the economy is dependent on people from America, immigrants from America, sending money back to their families.
Yeah, and that's something that's big. That's why it's not cryptocurrencies and now Bitcoin in particular are not about just talking about digital assets. They're actually talking about different ways of banking for poor countries, not only to get around sanctions, but to send money back and forth, which therefore they can get more money to their families. That's more bread on the table. That's more rice and beans. That's more electricity. That's maybe getting now internet, for the young kids now. There's so many more things they can do right now that they've taken that predatory third party out of play. Now, this is the ambassador to El Salvador over here. This is a quick 3-minute clip, fam. She talks about how much they've saved and the other benefits of crypto and moving forward.
Bitcoin is a famously volatile currency, and if Bitcoin continues to rise, then this could be really great for El Salvador, but if it crashes, it could be kind of problematic. So what is the plan if Bitcoin crashes or if Bitcoin doesn't rise to the extent that some people are hoping?
Well, I think that question is for the economic cabinet because they are the ones that are implementing all these financial plans. But I understand that if they're doing this, it's because they have a goal that Bitcoin is going to keep going up. And we can have a profit of this. Bitcoin, of course, it goes up, it goes down. But we're surrounded by the experts in cryptocurrencies. Well, let me tell you that we implemented the national wallet, Chivo wallet, and I want to give you some numbers. In 2 months, we have make the Salvadorian people to be a part of this new system. Around 80% of them right now, they're using the Chivo wallet, and from the United States, they're sending the remittances at zero cost. Almost $32 million we have received in remittances through the Chivo wallet. And the Chivo wallet came with the Bitcoin law. And the Chivo wallet make you decide if you want to send money in Bitcoin or in dollars. You know, the cost of sending remittances to El Salvador in the traditional system, generally it costs you around $400 to $700 million. And right now with the Chivo wallet, they're not spending any cent to send money to their families in El Salvador. So this is one of the big advantages. And also, you know, we have a lot of tourism right now in El Salvador, and they were using the Chivo wallet to make transactions. And you can buy anything in El Salvador with Bitcoin. You can buy sodas, pay taxes, pay hotels and everything. So, you know, it's a different country. Right now we have different alternatives, but it's your choice. You can choose if you want to use dollar or Bitcoin. That's the wonderful thing. You know, we're a land of freedom too, so you can decide if you want to send your remittances in dollar or Bitcoin and use our national wallet, or use the traditional system in which a lot of Salvadorian people in the United States, they don't have banking accounts. It's tough for them because they don't have financial inclusion. And with the Chivo wallet, we are seeing that almost 4 million people are using it right now in 2 months.
In 2 months.
Right, because a lot of people who in the United States aren't necessarily documented or don't have, like, you know, equity, don't have a bank account. So how are they going to do this, right? And so that it creates an alternative measure of how to help people. So a lot of detractors against Bitcoin, you know, and I'm not as giddy about Bitcoin as Pasta is, but I do see that it does work in terms of helping immigrants, in terms of helping nations in the global south that are enduring poverty and sanctions specifically. Yeah. And I think that's something worth mentioning. And I think, you know, sometimes people get caught up in like, well, Bitcoin is still, you know, capitalist. I agree. It's still capital. It's under a capitalist system. It could exist under a non-capitalist system as well. So they're, you know, same with MMT. It's like, if you want to redo the whole, you know, current system, the Fed, if you want to keep the Fed and try to fix it, that's not going to work. The system can't be fixed. Yeah. So either you take out the whole system and you find a way to do a whole other system, which, I mean, in my opinion, you know, capitalism is destroying this country because it's unfettered, right? It's completely just, it's gotten to a certain level where we have so much wealth in this country, but it's not proportioned. And so with crypto, we're seeing that people can find ways to gain money. I mean, without Rokfin, without crypto, we wouldn't be able to do the show.
We might not even be here today. So we might not even be here.
I mean, it's God sent to some people. Can it be exploited? Of course. I feel like anything can be exploited, but it is very decentralized, and, you know, there's a limited amount. So once it's gone, it's gone. And so now I think, you know, I think the bad that is there, of course, is there and should be talked about, but the good should also be talked about, and it's tangible and it's immediate and it's more, we're screwed. We have to do something right now while we're in the system, right? What are you going to do? Just because you call yourself a communist doesn't mean you don't participate in the system. What are you going to do? Die, not eat? Like, you have to participate in the system.
That's the crazy thing.
That's something that we need to think about.
I'm glad you're not as giddy as crypto as I am, but you pointed out all the major points for me right over there. I was just going to read my list. That the things I love about Bitcoin, you know what I'm saying, in crypto is that, number one, it doesn't deal with the same guards at the gate. It doesn't deal with the Fed. It doesn't deal with our government, whatnot. It doesn't blow up the system, but it goes around it. And that's something important to me, because if I can get the IMF out of my life, and I can find a system I can do that, I'm going to get the IMF out of my life, because I know the IMF is really one of the main mechanisms of capitalism, of imperialism, when they go into these other countries. Number two, I can't be sanctioned, or the countries can't be sanctioned with Bitcoin. We've been demonetized for over a year now, almost a year, excuse me, on YouTube. Julian Assange, he had to go through Bitcoin because they took away every form of American Western banking from him. PayPal, Venmo, bank accounts, you couldn't do that. And that's something I don't have to worry about, that they can just say one day, hey, I don't want to deal with you anymore. I don't want to pay you like YouTube did, which is not a private company. It's connected to the government. But they can do those things. With Bitcoin, they cannot. And number three, they take scarcity into account. And that's an argument I know some of the MMT people say, you know, it doesn't make a difference, whatnot, about the scarcity of our bill, that inflation really doesn't exist, whatnot, because we are the conveyors of our own dollars. But I don't care what you tell me. The more you print something, the more you have of it, the less it will be worth. Now, the argument is that where the money is going to in the bills, and that's something that I need to kind of emphasize as well. It's not the fact that they're just printing a lot of money. They're printing a lot of money and they're giving it to the 1%. The guys down below are getting very, very little.
They're not going to change.
Yeah. And they're not going to change their habits.
Not through this electoral process. You're not just going to, no.
Yeah.
Again, we're not going to get through in that electoral way. So forget changing the whole thing, reforming it.
Yeah. And what we just talked about going through Central America, the dollar is still very present. It's still very dominating, in fact, whatnot. The dollar is worth much more than the actual currencies that all in these other countries. So this is something, the last video I want to point out, because it was another positive thing, is that there are a lot of people that in our Congress are starting to catch on, and they're starting to legitimize cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin especially, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the big one right now. But this is, once again, this is Congressman Torres, again, from the South Bronx, South Bronx, that's a hip-hop song, fam, talking about how it's tied to the dollar. And also, once again, showing that all these other people who can't get an American bank account because they want access to dollars, well, now they can obtain that because they can obtain it through crypto. Take a look.
And one of my concerns about crypto is that it would present a challenge to the supremacy of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. But what I have found striking is that the leading stablecoin issuers have actually chosen to peg their stablecoins to the dollar, which strikes me as a vote of confidence that reinforces rather than challenges the status of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So what are your thoughts on the relationship between the dollar and the crypto? Is it as contradictory as many have feared, or could it be actually complementary?
I'll answer that. I actually don't think that it's contradictory at all. What people want is a U.S. dollar bank account. Everywhere in the world, people want to be able to have U.S. dollars. And actually, that's the hardest thing to get. And crypto is a tool for a lot of different things, including bringing communities together. But what people want in order for their everyday spending, it's dollars. If you're in Argentina, you want dollars. If you're somebody anywhere in the world, you want to have access to dollars. And that's the hardest thing to get access to right now. And that's why tokenized dollars is so valuable, because you don't need to have a bank account, yet you can have access to the dollar-based system. And a very, very important tool for inclusion.
Bam.
Yeah.
Inclusion. Poor people in other countries, third world countries, can now have access to the dollar via stable coins, through Bitcoin, whatnot. Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that something the progressives should be going, wow, oh my God, poor people can now access
they're too
dollars?
busy making fun of it because they think it comes from a libertarian ideology. And I mean, I guess in some senses it does. I mean, getting rid of the Fed, you know, the libertarians are right there with us when it comes to that. So again, they just put this whole ideology thing before listening to the entire message, right? They have to label somebody. If they don't meet the checklist, what they do is they label somebody and they say, oh, I'm not going to listen to anything you say. That's wrong. That's not how you should operate. You should listen to what people say regardless of their label. And I think, you know, we operate like that because we operate from the truth. We want to get to the truth. We don't operate from my ideology first. If you don't meet the checklist of my ideology, then I'm not listening to you. And with that sort of mentality, you're pushing people away. You're pushing people to the actual far right. You're pushing people away from organizing into an actual, you know, workers' revolt. And I think there could be more conversations, there should be more conversations about the tangible, immediate ways that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, stable coins actually do help. I don't think, you know, like I said, I always say it's not the solution, but it is a way for people to get something right now at this very moment. And we're seeing that in real time. We're seeing countries that are sanctioned, the people using it. We're seeing developing nations in the third world using it. We're seeing people in America who, like us, are censored by these gigantic corporations like YouTube, who's owned by Google, that because of what we say, actually we're seeing Rokfin be a possibility to help a lot of people. I mean, Jason Burma's got his account taken down on YouTube for the stupidest reason ever. He did absolutely nothing wrong. And
he's been demonetized for 2 years now, fam. Yeah,
demonetized, but we still have a YouTube channel, which is what we use to help get people on the Rokfin. It is a dagger in somebody's money when they're completely, even if they're already demonetized on YouTube, when they're taken down. It is an absolute travesty what's happening. And like, if it wasn't for Rokfin and the cryptocurrency based type of way, we wouldn't be able to do the show. And that's why it's what I cannot be against that. Like, because it's an immediate, tangible thing that I can do. And I cannot be against immigrants and people in third world nations using that to help their families. So for me, those are positives that I think overweight the negatives. And I think you know, people who have this high and mighty position on Bitcoin need to really understand how it's actually being used by a lot of the working class, especially the ones outside of North America.
Well, that's the thing too now with Nicaragua coming on, you know, to the whole scene with what they're doing and facing some sanctions right now. I think they want to be open to maybe having it for their tourism, because there's a lot of beautiful spots for tourism in Nicaragua that people should take advantage of, because the dollar stretches over there. It really does. And you can go get your big bang for your buck. And it is a safe country, like Camilla said. It was very, very safe. As a gringo who speaks very little Spanish, I felt very safe there. And Bitcoin can also help in that situation when it helps in remittances alone. And like you said, fam, it's a practice that is now in play. MMT is a great idea, I think, you know what I'm saying, like that. But how do you get that into play? And if you want to get that into play by reforming whatnot, you better pay attention to the Convo Couch and elections first, because you can't get anybody in there to help you with your reformation unless you get your elected officials. So start with elections first over here. Come on over and listen to us, and we can listen. I'll be open to listen to anybody, and I won't demean anybody who has an idea to sell me and stuff like that. But you guys have to understand, and this is what people have to understand in America. If your idea is different than somebody else, you don't bully them and browbeat them into accepting your idea. You make a pitch to say why it's better and why it will work better, and then maybe you'll get more people to come along. That's my final thoughts to say on this segment, fam.